Good morning. I'm struggling to find words today. I've got lots of thought, but no words are coming to the surface. So I take a picture of my watch face and I post it on Instagram each morning, and then put some words together that reflect what I'm thinking, or whatever's going through my mind at that moment. And it's really interesting to see what comes out of that. And genuinely, I am really intrigued to see, once you start typing, like how it finishes in the end. So no editing other than the odd spelling mistake. No pre-thought about whatever it is that I want to write about. Just a small blog, mini blog on whatever it is, whatever I've processed from yesterday, whatever I'm processing this morning. And yeah, it's really interesting to see what comes out of that. But this morning, well, I lied. Just there are things that came to mind this morning, but there are things I don't really want to talk about on the internet at this moment in time. So perhaps that's what it was. It wasn't the fact that nothing had come up. It's just the fact that there's one very specific thing that has occupied my mind this morning. So whilst I'm trying to find words, I thought it'd be nice to light an incense. So if we take a moment, let that burn for a second. I have been guilty in the past of just lighting it and then blowing it out straight away, and then it just fizzles to nothing within a few seconds, which is not cool, obviously. You want the incense to flourish and be as bright as it can be, so give it the energy it deserves to get started. So that's that. So that's set the tone, or set the mood for this video. And then I think it'd be a good idea. So obviously I've got something on my mind this morning, and it's something I'm kind of in control of. I am in control of it. We're all in control of our destiny. So, but it's about being clear on decisions. So like it's one of these moments where you can either go left or you can go right, and both paths are good. There's opportunity going left, there's opportunity going right. So it's about processing what it means to go left and processing what it means to go right. And where does my gut sit with all of this? The analytical part of my brain, where does that sit? So when I'm calculating the best move, what's the best move from an analytical perspective? But what's the best move from my heart's perspective? What's a good maneuver, given the information that I have to hand? What's a good maneuver right now? And it's an interesting, you could apply this to anything whenever you've got a decision to make. So how do I make a decision? There's no do nothing option, because do nothing doesn't exist really in these circumstances. So it's definitely a left, and it's definitely binary. It's either a 1 or a 0. It's either a left or a right. It's a yes or a no. It's black and white. So what do we do with these moments when we have to make a decision? Let's have a ponder on that for a second. Well, the first thing I like to do is breathe. Breathe and process. Now, I did breathe this morning. I hit my Himalayan salt pipe for a good 5 minutes. And I was so lost in thought. Just thoughts whirring and whirring and whirring. Constantly whirring in my head. So I wasn't being very mindful of my Himalayan salt pipe. But that's okay. I noticed right then that this is going to be one of those mornings when my brain's very active. So, after I finished the Himalayan salt pipe, it was straight into a belly breathing and breath retention exercise. And through the whole of that, I was so lost in thought again. So the first part, pardon me, the first part of those exercises is to do a full belly breath. So pardon me. So what do I mean by a full belly breath? If you haven't done one before. Well, I breathe. Yes, you do. Most probably. But a full belly breath isn't something that you kind of, well, you may naturally do it, but essentially what you're doing is you're being very aware of the air that's coming into your lungs. So as it expands, fluff off my cat. As the air goes down into your lungs, you might take a shallow breath. So it's just like it's only ever coming down to here. It's like in, out, in, out, in, out. Feels like it doesn't really affect the belly, nor the top of the chest. It's just this shallow breathing. But with the belly breath, you take the air down deep into the bottom of the lungs. And you use your diaphragm. So the diaphragm is pushed right down. The diaphragm pushing right down. Or pulling right down, rather. And you feel your belly expand out. Like a balloon. Like you feel it push right out. So your belly pushes right out when you take that big breath in. And you do it really mindfully as well. So you feel the air coming in through your nose. Down the back of your throat. Entering into your lungs. And feeling the expansion. You'll feel it in the belly first. You target the diaphragm, pushing it down. Feeling the expansion of the belly, pushing out like a balloon. And then you'll get to a point where you can't get any more air into the bottom of your lungs. It feels like you've expanded as much as possible. But you might still have some capacity to get some air into the top of your lungs. So your diaphragm is fully extended down. I don't know if extended is the right word, but down. Your belly is expanded out. And then if you can get some more air in, so you kind of lift up to the top then. So it's down into the belly. And then that final suck in is where the top of your ribs expand out as well. So your belly's expanded out, your top of your ribs are expanded out. And you feel such a stretch, like your whole body is just stretched. belly's stretched right out, the top of your ribs are stretched right out. And if you really want to feel the expansion, what I tend to do is just roll my shoulders back. So I'll like that. So it's down into the belly, up into the top of the lungs to expand the ribs out, and then roll the shoulders back. And it kind of puffs your chest out. And this is really just for me to feel. It doesn't get any more air into your lungs, but you feel that expansion across here. And it's like, oh, I haven't stretched my ribs out that far in years. So that feels good. Just as that's just an interesting little quirk. It's not even a quirk. It's just an interesting sensation to roll your shoulders back when you can't get any more air into your lungs and feel the expansion at the top here. It's like, oh, all these muscles get a right old stretch. It's like your ribs get a really good stretch as well. And I like to think, even though this is not founded in any science whatsoever, that roll back there and this pushing out, this expansion, does stretch all these muscles and stretches your rib cage. And I like to think, notice, no medical science that I know of behind this, but I like to think that expands and stretches your ribs, and that increases your lung capacity over time because you're exercising and stretching this whole top area here. And I guess in my kind of simple brain, the more space you have, the more space you have for your lungs to expand when you take a breath. So you're stretching all this out at the top. That's a belly breath. That's a belly breath. So you do that about 30 times, maybe 40. I can't remember what he does on the current breath work. Breath work with Breathe with Sandy is what I'm doing at the moment. But you'll do it quite rapidly. It'll feel quite rapid. So I'm trying not to blow into the microphone. That's why my lips are pointed upwards. I might look like an idiot. Trying to find my rhythm. Obviously, I'm not throwing my arms back each time. That's just something I do every so often. But you do that. You do that for a good 30 to 40 seconds. I can't remember how much it is because I always get lost. You know, I try not to count, especially if you're doing a guided breath work. The whole point of it being guided is you don't have to kind of count yourself and think. You just kind of flow with whatever they're saying. So you go with that for however long it is. And then when you get to the end, then you do your breath retention or kumbhaka, as is written in Sanskrit. So your kumbhaka, your breath retention. So you'll take that final suck in, deep down into the belly. Give that final suck in like a real take in as much as you can. Let's do that again. And you can feel the expansion across the top because it was a really big one, the last one. And then you sit with it for about 10 seconds. And as you sit with it, this ballooned body, you may feel tingling starting to rush over your body. You may feel mildly lightheaded or heavily lightheaded. And for those that really want to go deep into their breath work, you may feel yourself falling into a deep meditation at this point. But actually hold on the meditation. When I say that's the wrong terminology here. So you're holding your breath for about 10 seconds. Another thing you can do is lock your perineum, your core, and your throat, or your, think of the Sanskrit, Malabandha, Julie Alabanda, Ali Alabanda, I think it's a perineum, core, throat, or solar plexus, throat. You lock them tight when you've got this breath hold in. Lock, lock, lock. Sit there for 10 seconds. And then when you release, feel whatever it was that you're holding on to, whatever it was that was occupying your mind, dominating your thoughts, winning the fight for attention, just goes with that big breath out. The release of pressure, just like and you let it all go. My cat does me, I don't know. Let it all go. And then just sit. Don't take another breath. Hold your comebacker. You're not tensing. You're not thinking. You're not breathing. You're in your breath retention. Your comebacker. And you're starting to feel the expanse in front of you. Starting to feel things open up in front of you. And by open up, I mean space is created. You could call it freedom. You could call it a lack of thinking. You could call it mindfulness. So whatever label you want to give it, it opens up in front of you. And by mindfulness, I mean you're letting go of the past, of the future. You're grounding yourself in the feelings and the presence of right now in that breath hold. And you can hold your breath for about 10 seconds, 20, 30, a minute for the brave, a minute and a half for the warriors, 2 minutes for the super cool dudes, and then beyond that is outside my reach at the moment. I think 2 minutes is just achievable at a real push, but it starts to feel uncomfortable. It's like I'm really holding on. I'm not being mindful, and I'm definitely not being present. I'm like, by the time I get into 2 minutes. But a minute's really nice now. Like, just flow through that minute. Flow through that minute quite easily. Well, very easily. And I think that's the beauty of this now. So because I can hold, after doing these exercises, I can hold my breath for about a minute and a half. To do a minute isn't a struggle, and it allows me to really just sink into it, sink into the pleasure of nothing, of just being. No breathing, no thinking. The only thing you need to be or can be aware of, or should aim to be aware of, no. You do whatever you want to do. You do whatever you want to do. But what I like to feel is the sensations of the breath hold going around my bottom. You get like once you let that breath out, it feels so nice, like you've just let go of whatever it was that was troubling you, whatever it was that was making you happy, whatever it was that's occupying your attention, you let that go. You give yourself the freedom to be at one with your senses. And when you do these exercises, you do find you have like a tingling sensation going through your body, or you'll start to see colours in front of your eyes, or whatever it might be. I think everyone's very different when it comes to these things. And I, for one, get a lot of tingling sensations through my body. And it can be quite jarring at first. In fact, it can be very kind of, wow, this doesn't feel natural. But actually, the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. And it's quite an amazing experience. In fact, it's a very amazing experience. And just being one with it, with the sensations that are running through your body, with the space that's in front of your eyes, like an emptiness, an empty sea. Well, seas aren't empty, but you know, I think you just use your imagination of what I'm trying to describe. Just a vastness in front of you. You can't really, it's not really anything, it's just space. And you'll feel that space. Not all the time. I'd say it's a very low percentage that that space opens up in front of me, because I'm just so lost in thought, as we all are. It's really hard to let go of that thought. I talk about this like it's easy, but it is really difficult to do consistently, to let go of these thoughts through a breathwork practice. Very hard. But it does happen every so often. And the more you practice, the more often it will happen. So I'm practicing this daily now, committing at least half an hour to my breath work every day, because I see the value in it. A huge value. And once you've let go of whatever it was that was grabbing your attention, then you can make a decision on what you do want to put your attention to. And actually, that's a great segue back to the start of this video, which is around decisions. So, where I was all flip-flopping around what's a good decision, what's a bad decision, or not really a bad decision. What's decision A? What's decision B? If you're clouded in thought, sometimes it's good to just let go of all of that thought and allow that decision, give that decision the space it needs to manifest in the right way. And I think we'll close there. So, again, thank you so much for watching, and I do really appreciate it if you've got to this point in the video. I love making these videos, I really do. It's therapeutic in a lovely kind of way to talk about these things for myself. And on the flip side, I hope that whoever watches these videos takes a nugget or many nuggets of information that perhaps they could use in their lives as well. So if you did enjoy it, please drop a like on the video. I'd greatly appreciate it. And conversely, if there's anything that you disagree with or you want to chat about, drop something in the comments. That'd be awesome. I'd love to hear from you. So yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for watching, and I will speak to you soon. Bye bye.